And we are here at the FIBO doing our franchise checks, finishing up the Western Division, going a deep dive on all the franchises for the 2025 season of ELF football. Here with Matt Bressington, of course, the most knowledgeable and intelligent man in all things ELF football, talking today about the Stuttgart Surge. Now, last year the Stuttgart Surge lost a heartbreaking game in the semifinals, but their history is a little bit more interesting than just that. Matt, why don't you bring us up to speed on the history of this franchise?
I think it really is just a tale of two very, very different sides. You had the Stuttgart that started in the ELF in 2021, wasn't a very good team, ends up going 2-8. 2022, arguably one of the worst teams we've ever seen in the ELF. They go 0-12. It flips, new coaching staff, a lot of Schwabish Hall players. The team completely changes in a span of one night. They go 10-2. In 2023, and then this season was the best they've ever done, 11-1 in the semifinal. They were like one play away, maybe, from being in the championship game. Phenomenal.
I mean, that semifinal game was very, very intense. Rhein Fire came back from a halftime deficit. I mean, Surge were in control with the entire game. So kudos to the Rhein Fire and Jadrian Clark for coming back there. That was a big heartbreaker for the Stuttgart Surge team, and I know that they're looking in 2025 to avenge that. They've really reloaded, man. Let's talk a little bit about how this squad looks for 2025. Let's start off, though, with a couple of the key departures. There's a couple kind of big names that are gone.
Yeah, I mean, Yannick Meyer is a big one. And both of these are going to be different graphic, Maxi. So Yannick Meyer and Daryl Stewart.
There you go, Maxi.
Two of the weapons that we have from the Stuttgart Surge are no longer there. How is Riley Hennessy, the quarterback, going to be able to overcome this? Because Yannick is, oh man, Yannick's so good. One of the most slept on European players in the entire league. Daryl Stewart, the best playoff run we've ever seen from a receiver. Phenomenal. He was averaging like 200 yards a game in the playoffs in 2023. Outstanding. Had a few injuries this year, but he's still an elite receiver, and these two are going to be really missed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Yannick Meyer, so athletic, always leaping over people, hurtling over people. And that 2023 run that Daryl Stewart Jr. had in the playoffs was remarkable. Bit quieter last year, not able to have as many big games. And so the thing also about with wide receivers, look at the Chiefs when they got rid of Tyreek Hill. And everyone thought, oh man, it's going to be a totally different offense. The offense the next year was even better. Something about wide receivers, you're able to replace them a little bit more easily than some other positions. And let's talk then about some of the key extensions, these players that they're bringing back, sort of the core big names that they've got.
I mean, I'm going to go for the three Americans, probably the most recognizable Surge icons. You are Riley Hennessy, the quarterback. He could be an MVP this season. I know he really wants that. I know he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder this season. Me and him talk regularly. And then the two defensive backs, the best duo of defensive backs in ELF history, Mitch Fettig and Raheem Wilson. You know how much I'm a fan of these guys. Mitch Fettig, highly aggressive, cuts in the balls, just such a dynamic athlete. And Raheem Wilson, my favorite player in the league, such a twitchy, aggressive, nasty press corner, can play safety, can play wherever you need him to. A corner's corner. We talked about him on Silent Sound. We talked about any opportunity I get to talk about Raheem Wilson, I do, because he's just that damn good.
Man, he is so damn good, and I had the privilege of playing with him for a couple of years back in my day. But speaking of Riley Hennessy, he was going to retire this year. He was totally set on retiring. In that game against the Rhein Fire in the rain, he just couldn't walk away from the sport with that taste left in his mouth. This man is coming back with a vengeance, and he is really looking to go out on top with the championship. And then, dude, both of those DBs just unbelievable sweetheart guys off the field, complete psychopaths on the field. It's an incredible duo. Let's also talk about some of the new players that they've added as well.
So, of course, they lost those two great receivers that we mentioned about. They have reloaded on the offense, but they've done it in a slightly different way. They have Tommy Wayewo at running back, the best receiving running back in the league. If he can stay healthy, he's a dynamic player. Literally, you can play him every single down you need, stretch him out wide to receiver, put him in the slot, put him wide out, motion him out. Very dynamic weapon for this offense. Daniel Pedro, a player I'm a big fan of. I don't think we've scratched the surface of what he is. Some of his coaches, he's not a rule player. He is a rule player. He's a speedster, but he's 6'2", big frame, long catch radius. You speak to people that know him, they're like, this guy's going to be legit. The UK, it's not known for receivers, but Pedro could be that guy to break forward out of that stigma and become a real problem. The Surge needed speed. They lost Meyer. They've got Pedro because he's a legit potential 4-5 guy.
Well, this is the thing. I know that Surge coaching staff was looking for some sort of replacement for Yannick Meyer, and Pedro was the guy that they have felt, okay, maybe he could fill those shoes. Granted, a little bit raw right now, but eventually, after a couple of games, get into that. How about on the roster here? The trenches of the Stuttgart Surge.
Goodness.
The offensive and defensive line are stacked as hell. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely, my pleasure. I mean, we're going to start with a good friend of ours, Alessandro Vergani, one of our favorite players in the league. He is. We've talked about him all the time. Great Italian guard, can come into space and just knock someone's head off. But like you said, delightful person. Honestly, delightful.
Everyone on that team is just sweethearts off the field. I got to say about Alessandro Vergani as well. Obviously, everything he puts on tape, but the emotional presence, the emotional maturity that he has. You had a post a couple weeks ago about enforcers in this league, and you had Alessandro Vergani on there, and that is so true. This man will go to war for everyone on that team, and so he brings that energy.
He'd die for a yard. He really would. And I don't want to be across from the man that wants to die for a single yard.
No, you do not.
And you got Luka Jokel, or the Jackal. I like to call him the Jackal. He's at the guard, massive guy. He's about 6'8", huge, athletic lineman. And then defensive line as well. You get these amazing pass rushes. Bernard Gruber, Robert Lackman, two incredible pass rushes. Chris Malumba in the middle is one of my favorite interior defensive linemen. Former Colorado player, can really rush the pass as well, stopping the run. Typical instance of don't look at just stats, watch tape, because Chris Malumba will pop with that Surge defensive line.
Okay, so that's a lot of high praise for the Stuttgart Surge team coming into 2025. With that being said, then, let's look at their schedule and make our predictions for how this is going to go out with them. And of course, I have no bias, and the fact that head coach Jordan Newman is officiating my wedding in 3 weeks has nothing to do with my picks, right, Maxie? Absolutely.
I wonder what's going to happen here, guys.
Okay, all right. My biases are well documented. They're gonna start off with a win against the Frankfurt Galaxy. Okay, sure. Come on now. Paris. This is very, very interesting. I think this is going to be developing into a nice rivalry within that division. Close game. You've got Jordan Newman, an all-time European coach, all his experiences in Europe. Jack Del Rio, all of his experiences in the NFL. Two different sides of the coin. Jordan Newman's going to win that. They're going to beat Paris. They're going to beat Hamburg. They're going to beat the Ravens. Cologne, everyone's beating Cologne. I mean, come on, man. Of course they're going to beat Cologne. And that's what we got them at 5-0 going into week 7. Now, Matt, you take the back half.
I mean, I believe you got one more in the Ravens, but I can imagine what this is going to be, no?
Oh, is that?
You got one more.
Also a W.
Yeah, whoa.
Come on.
Whoa.
Big surprises here.
Oh, my God. Nick, you're really pushing the boat out. All right.
What you got, Matt?
Like you said, amazing team. Enthroners, they're going to, you'd expect them to be the Enthroners. Here we go, though, with 7-0. They're going to take their first loss against the Galaxy.
It's like last year. They had that loss against the Raiders T-Roll at home, too.
Exactly. A lot like that. They're going to bounce back. They're going to beat Paris. They're going to do the double because we've talked about it's a different league. Like Europe and Paris is different.
Yep.
Like a lot of coaches don't understand, I've got to go to practice on my way home from work. That's a different level of NFL athletes. So it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that. There's going to be another win here with Hamburg. And then they kind of finish off with quite an easier schedule in the back end. So I think they'll win the rest of these ones. And they'll finish.
They're going to be able to rest some starters here in the back half.
That's what I'm thinking they will do. And they'll finish with now standing 11-1.
Man, they're lucky that they're not playing Prague because Matt would probably have had Prague beating the Surge both times, wouldn't you? Talk about bias.
Maybe,
all right,
maybe a little bit.
It's interesting you got Frankfurt beating them. I would probably, if I did the full schedule myself, would have Paris beating them. I think that they're going to get handed a regular season loss similar to last year, but I could really see Paris doing it after Jack Del Rio gets some more experience in Europe. But 11-1, so that would put them winning that Western Division and getting into the playoffs. And I don't think many people are surprised by this. I think this team has so much continuity both on the field and in the coaching staff, really building on something. People expected them to make it to the championship last year. But Matt, what would have to happen for the Surge to not live up to the expectations that everyone seems to have on them?
I think for them to not live up to this 11-1, something's got to happen with their defense. And I'm a massive fan of that defense, which leads me to a different question. They have quite an unorthodox way of handling their defense. 2 DCs. My question to you, Nick, what if one of them wants to become a head coach? Is that something that we could potentially see in the future of splitting this? You'll know a lot more than I do as a bit of an insider at the Stuttgart Surge. But it is unusual.
It's very unusual.
I'm surprised one hasn't been poached yet.
It's very, very unusual. And it's not for lack of teams trying to poach those guys. So those 3 guys, Jordan Newman, Johnny Brenner, and Cody Pastorino. Brenner and Pastorino are the co-defensive coordinators. All these guys are head coach material, but they have such strong roots together. They've been working together for over a decade. Families are friends, like everything like that's Thanksgiving together. And so they just have such a tight bond there, and that trickles down into that team and the chemistry that they have. So it's not for lack of teams not trying to poach these guys, because they certainly are. I think they want to win a championship in the ELF together. And of course, it is unorthodox to have 2 co-defensive coordinators, but they both bring something a little bit special. Cody's a lot more kind of game plan side. Johnny's a lot more play calling side. I mean, they both work together on both aspects of that, but they really have a nice little yin-yang thing going on. Unorthodox sometimes leads to success.
Absolutely. And then they need to come up clutch as well.
Yeah.
They did not do that against Ryan. You know, they had that miscommunication. Riley throws the pick. You know, something happened that just went wrong. They cannot have those opportunities. They do not want to be in a position where one opportunity can ruin the whole season.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw that. I mean, for all intents and purposes, that was a choke against the Rhine Fire, and they can't do that this year with all the talent they have. So there we have it. Franchise check for the Stuttgart Surge 2025.